Can y'all hear me? Something weird just happened. It still got me live on my channels, like it kicked me out. What is going on? It still says I'm live. But on there, it kicked me out. It said I wasn't live no more. How can I stop the live broadcast if I'm in here right now? Okay, did it say it ended? Hold on. What is going on? What is happening? What is happening? Um, I guess I'm back. I don't know. Y'all, I apologize. I don't know what the hell happened. It kicked me out. Am I on Rumble? I don't know what happened, y'all. I'm sorry. Something weird. This never happened before. That's why I don't like it when I'm by myself. So it ended on Rumble. I'm not broadcasting to Rumble. Damn. Can I edit it? Hold on. Let's see if we can edit this and add Rumble in here. Nope, it's not letting me. It says error. It says the slot is being used already. Recording in progress. How is that possible? What can I do? What can I do? What can I do? What can I do? Are you sure you want to make it private? No. What can I do? Can I add this? What can I do? This is a glitch. I don't know. I don't fucking know what to do now. It's glitching because it's still saying recording in progress, but I'm not. Let's end. Unless, hold on. This one says ended. Let's close that. So, okay, let's do that. End live stream. Yes. All right, let's do setup. Live stream. Create new live stream. Please wait. All right, hold on, y'all. Hold on, y'all. Let's see if this works. I don't like that. I like to end when I'm ready. I don't want them to freaking tell me when I'm freaking done. Because I wasn't done. I was about to be done, but I wasn't done yet. Don't tell me when I'm done. I don't know what the hell happened. Was it something I was talking about? Or was it my internet glitched? I didn't get no message or nothing. I hate it when I'm by myself because somebody else would have been in there and it would have told me what the hell is going on. I think I gotta go to, hold on. Let's see. I should be able to edit destination. Hold on. We could do it by opening another one of these. And then we go destination. Let's see, edit. Okay, I think we're getting somewhere. Let's see. Boom, copy this. Let's see, should work. Let's see, are we good? Are we good? Are we good? Let's remove this. Remove this. And then Hold on. And now click on this. Save changes. Boom, I think we're back. Let's check. This is that. Hold on. This is that. Close this one. Close this. Open this one. Let's see. Content. Oh shit, I'm back. Oh shit, I'm back. Can y'all hear me? Hold on, y'all. One more check. One more check. Okay. We should be good. Man, I don't know what the hell happened. They kicked me out. They kicked me out. I didn't get no message. I don't know where I stopped either. I know I was talking about the guns. What part did I stop? If anybody's in here, can y'all let me know what part, what I was saying when I stopped? Somebody leave me a message. What was the last thing y'all heard me say? Because I have no idea when it ended. I know I was talking about the guns. I don't know how far I got into it. That's so irritating, y'all. I apologize, man. It must have been the internet kicked me off. Something weird happened. Oh, it says your internet connection was restored. So that must have been what it was. The internet just kind of froze or something. And then, hold on. Yeah, when it ended, the internet must have froze and then it just, everything glitched. I'm sorry. I was about to wrap it, but I wasn't ready to wrap it yet, and I don't give a damn. I ain't gonna let them control me. Anyways, let's see if we can. I'm gonna just go on to and try to catch up to where I was at. I don't even care if nobody's watching, because they're not gonna fucking just end my shit like that without me fucking deciding to end. Excuse my language. I'm sorry. I just got emotional. Let me see. Is there something I can play to get me to calm down a bit? I want to go into that, but I need a second to freaking get myself together here. I really apologize. I hate this. I hate it when stuff like that happens. It really really burns me up. 10 minutes. What is this? Amazing investigation finds is documented and terrific. Documented uncovered leaked videos and recordings that expose the Alliance Defending Freedom's plot to wipe out public schools in America. This is what I was looking for earlier. What the hell? Anyway, so am I sharing? I'm sharing. Let's play this.
What we see going on in the public schools is an uncanny parallel to the Third Reich.
This is how Alliance Defending Freedom thinks about the public education system.
And the government is trying to usurp the role of parents.
They're radical, they're fringy, they're not grounded in truth.
Religious liberty is not safe in the United States as long as we have the kind of public school system we have.
The plan that they outline on these videos is nothing less than taking down the public education system.
Our goal is not to just throw stones. Our goal is to take down the education system as we know it today. Okay.
This has been the mission of the religious right, really since desegregation.
This is the Alliance Defending Freedom, the Christian right legal organization designated a hate group by the Southern Poverty Law Center that is trying to destroy public education in America.
No matter what they say, they're not really interested in protecting freedoms. They're interested in working to push their own radical, unpopular beliefs on Americans.
The Alliance Defending Freedom, or ADF, was launched in 1994 by leaders in the Christian right community.
We've been duped into believing that somehow you can separate your Christianity, your religion, from what's going on in the country politically. And you cannot. They're intertwined.
Today, it's a nearly $100 million operation with a single goal. We are here to keep the door open for the gospel.
Alliance Defending Freedom is sort of on this mission to strip Americans of their rights and undermine democracy.
Kayla Hancock is the director of the...
Wait, when I was talking in the show last week, I was saying we had a whole discussion and argument about the Supreme Court. And I was saying that, no one is unbiased. You can't help it. Like, it's human, right? And I was talking about how, like, sometimes, they do make decisions based on the Constitution or whatever. You try to put people as a judge, someone who has good integrity and character or whatever. But sometimes, their ideologies can get in the way, and especially if it's like a religious ideology, because it's like a core part of them. And I feel like, some of the Supreme Court decisions that we've had have been influenced by people's religious beliefs. And the guys were arguing with me saying that, no, they're following the Constitution, so forth and so on. And I'm like, I think that it's impossible for people to, if you have really strong religious beliefs, then that's going to affect your decisions, even if you're in a position of like Supreme Court judge.
Power and Influence Project at accountable.us, a government watchdog aimed at holding special interests accountable for their influence in politics.
They were obviously the lawyers behind the recent 303 Creative versus Ellis case, which upended decades of civil rights protections for LGBTQ Americans.
So to see the kind of ruling we got was just an answer to prayer.
They also brought the Masterpiece Cake Shop versus Colorado case around the baker who wanted to deny service to same-sex couples who were getting married.
I'm Michael Ferris. I'm the president and general counsel for Alliance Defending Freedom that defended Jack today.
They were behind the...
That was the case that I talked about too, and that was the one. Like, I was trying to remember which specific case that I said that I felt like they didn't actually, they were using their religious beliefs to make their decision. And it wasn't really based on, because they didn't have no precedent. It was totally new. It created a new precedent, and it's causing like chaos as it comes down, because the other courts have to interpret what the Supreme Court decided, and they don't have any precedent to go by. So, and this thing could go in any kind of direction. People can start using it in new kinds of ways. And what I was saying was, it was opening the door for discrimination. It's because people can use that particular case to discriminate against people for other reasons.
Dobbs decision that overturned Roe v. Wade, and they're obviously not stopping there.
We want Roe versus Wade reversed, but that's just kind of a huge milestone along the path to becoming a pro-life nation.
And now this, where they've sued to remove one of the most popular abortion pills from the market nationwide.
This case is very important because it concerns the FDA's approval and continual deregulation of the chemical abortion drug.
And so that's what I was saying when I was making my argument, that I think that we got a nationwide abortion ban coming soon. And that's how we got on the whole argument about the Supreme Court, because they were saying that the whole Roe versus Wade thing was states' rights. It was kicked out to states' rights. And I wasn't saying that that was a bad call. That sounded like they were following precedent and following the Constitution, even though it undid a ruling that had been there for like 50 years. But with the people screaming that it's states' rights is the reason why to go for that, then I can go for that, and that's fine. But what I was saying was, if they turn around and make a nationwide ban, then that's the opposite of states' rights. That's oppressing from the federal government. That's big government telling the states what they can do on a topic like that. So then I would say that that's not them making their decisions based on the Constitution and basing it on precedent and legal, structure, and basing it on their own ideologies and what they feel about what should be right, telling all the states. So because they were making the argument that it was states' rights, and it's like, okay, that's fine, but you can't flip it and then say, now I want a nationwide ban, because you can't have it both ways. You can say it's either states' rights or, the federal government should make the decision. You can't go for both. Then that means you don't have any real integrity. You don't have any character or spine. You don't have any real convictions. or maybe you do have convictions, but your convictions aren't honest. You know, you weren't being honest when you said it was states' rights.
You know, I don't know when it stops, right?
And they really have demonstrated that they should be taken seriously.
Nick Sergey is executive director at Documented, a watchdog group that has been tracking the Alliance Defending Freedom and other organizations working in this area.
Documented has obtained internal videos, documents, and other materials from the Alliance Defending Freedom and ZICLAG. And this shows that they want to do nothing less really than take down the public education system.
And the fundamental change is to force, via a Supreme Court decision, a constitutionally mandated school voucher system.
Bill Barr, the former Attorney General under Trump, laid out the basis of this project.
It may no longer be fair, practical, or even constitutional to provide publicly funded education solely through the vehicle of state-operated schools.
So, and this is what I've been saying for the longest, and they've been going down this road for the longest, and people are calling me crazy or whatever, but it's like I'm seeing it happen in real life where it's like they're pushing for defunding them. So the excuse is that because everybody has a consensus that the schools suck, that the public schools are trash, the teachers, aren't teaching the kids properly. You know, you got LGBTQ agenda, left woke agenda going on in the schools. And, the teachers aren't getting paid. The kids are wilding out. It's fights and drugs and school shootings and stuff going on. And they're like, so, it's like you defund the schools and make them trash to give an excuse to get rid of them altogether. That's what I think that the road that they're going down. And back when Trump was in office and he appointed Betsy DeVos as the Secretary of Education, I was saying way back then, I was like, this is the one that you need to pay attention to, because she didn't have any real, experience to be the Secretary of Education. She, and it was like, why would she, and she's rich as hell too. So she's like, why would she even want to work that job? That's over all of the public schools, and she's a private school sector. That's where she came from, and it's like, what the hell is going on? And then when I saw that, I was like, look at what they're doing. This is the scariest thing that's happening right here, because people were saying that Trump was giving out these positions like to the highest bidder. So like people were paying to get into these positions. Like, I really would not be surprised if that was the case with Betsy DeVos. She wanted to get in there because she had an agenda that she was doing, and it's all about funding. It's all about the state funding coming to these private schools, to these charter schools, to these religious schools, instead of going to public schools. And also beyond that is pushing the kids into these schools, and then they had the thing where they said that the funding follows the child. And that was the whole thing I was saying. It's the same thing. So the funding follows the child, and the child goes into these private schools, and that's where the money that should be going to the public schools is going to the private schools. And they're selling that to the people like this is fair or whatever. But it's like all of these kids that's in this inner city or whatever, they're getting screwed. They're getting left with a school that doesn't have any funding, that that's just falling apart, and so then also the other part of that is you have like this class structure of, if you do have the money and time and resources to not have your kid in the public school, then you don't have to deal with this situation. You can deal with it in a different way. But for all of the people who don't, then they're left behind. Like they say, no child left behind. Well, all of these children are left behind.
This has been Mike Farris's life's work.
Michael Farris is the former CEO and general counsel at ADF. He has been a leader in the homeschool and school voucher crusades.
The privatization of public education is very good for that system.
Ever since the 1970s, he's been making similar arguments that he makes in these recordings.
The voucher system, one of the most necessary changes that our nation's education system needs.
And you fast forward to today, now they're just being taken seriously.
I believe it's a winnable case now, whereas 10 or 15 years ago, it probably wasn't.
Alliance Defending Freedom is a highly networked organization, and many of the organizations that they work in coalition with have really, since early 2021, been trying to fan the flames around LGBTQ rights in schools, and in particular, what they describe as critical race theory being taught, but is really just conversations taking place in the schools around racism, legacy of slavery in this country.
We are now dealing with a radicalized, indoctrinated Marxist generation of youth that are actually the agents of the nation's destruction.
And they want to use the anger that groups that they work with have helped whip up, really to try and push this legal strategy and do what the religious right has wanted for decades, really back to desegregation, and that's to push school vouchers.
The type of voucher for all program they're looking to secure would allow parents to remove their children from public schools, but would still force the government to subsidize their private education with public money, even at religious institutions.
I think that we could establish this as a constitutional right.
Ziklag is an organization that channels money to projects on the right. Peter Bollinger is one of the leaders of Ziklag, and he chairs their education committee.
For an investment of a few $1 million, we can literally and potentially shift the flow of approximately $750 billion of education funds.
But in these recordings, we're seeing the kind of ground floor for this legal strategy.
We intend to bring a handful of cases to challenge the constitutionality of what's going on in the public schools.
You hear them lay out their strategy as including very clearly judicial selection.
Judicial selection would be very much a part of our strategy.
They probably have specific judges in mind. They certainly have specific circuits.
And that's what I was saying too about the particular people who got put into the Supreme Court recently. And they have in this long-term agenda. The schools is just part of it. And they put these people in place to accomplish the goals that they have been trying to accomplish for the longest. And what I was saying the longest about Trump being, he got used, he's being used. These people have been trying to get what they wanted to get done for the longest. They don't really care about who's president or if it's Republican or if it's Democrat even. Like, they don't care about none of that stuff. They have things that they want to accomplish, and they will use whatever means that they have, available. And so then Trump comes along, and then they see this as an opportunity to get done some stuff that they've been trying to get done for the longest. And I think Trump has been bamboozled. He's been used. He's been led astray. He's been, weaponized, if you will. And not to say that Trump isn't a smart guy, like he knows a lot of stuff, but I think that he underestimates the power and the long-term goals of these people, what they really are trying to do, because they're willing to lie. They're willing to do whatever it takes to get the stuff that they've done, because they feel like they're doing something that God tells them to do. Like they feel like they're doing God's agenda. So they're willing to do whatever it takes, and then they have unlimited resources. So, and like I say, Trump comes along and he has the stuff that he's trying to do or whatever, and these people get in there and they finesse him.
It's in mind.
We're going to file one of these cases in the Eighth Circuit. The Eighth Circuit is the best circuit in the country for principled originalist judges.
Here we get a really unique insight into what they're hoping to achieve at this court in the next few years.
In this environment, vouchers may be the only workable and the only constitutional solution.
The same people who oppose Medicare for all, they love vouchers for all, including for the children of the wealthy.
Carol Burris is a former public school teacher and principal. She now serves as the executive director of the Network for Public Education.
And the vouchers are so weird. It's just a way to confuse the public, like a Emma effort, because why would the rich person, be interested in these vouchers anyways? They can pay to put their kid in whatever private school or whatever charter school that they want anywhere in the country or even outside of the country. They can put their kid literally anywhere. Why would they care about some vouchers? Why would they even use them? I think that it's just a way to confuse the people to make it look like it's for everybody or whatever, but these people aren't going to use those vouchers, I don't think. I mean, like maybe whatever, but that's beside the point. The point is for them to get the agenda that they want to get across, and they want public schools to be out of there.
We see the rhetoric and the attacks on public schools ramp up, accusing us of indoctrinating children.
There's a clear, open effort to indoctrinate kids in this woke ideology.
And it's really being used to turn the public, especially more conservative parents, against their public schools.
It has shifted from an education to an indoctrination. And I've seen that in the last few years. It's gotten even worse.
And they make it very clear what it is that they want to accomplish, which is the destruction of public education in our country.
The public schools, because of market forces, would be really compelled to clean up their act.
Problem is, no one ever follows the logic through of what would happen if we had a marketplace system in the United States. And that was the only system we had, which is the ultimate goal. There are going to be places where parents are not going to get the schools that they want, if they can get a school at all. Because that's how the marketplace works, right? It goes where there are customers. So what happens when we have areas where there just are not that many families to serve? Where will there be a school? Where does your child go?
And there are very real issues with moving towards a fully voucher-based approach to our nation's education.
We have years of research on voucher programs, and it's very clear. Students who leave public schools, on average, or a private school, do worse, and sometimes a lot worse, like 0.40 standard deviations worse, which is huge.
Given the current makeup of the Supreme Court, I really believe that we could have success.
Will they be successful? You know what? I honestly don't know, given this particular Supreme Court and some of the rulings that they've had in the past.
And in many ways, the ADF and affiliated groups have already been successful.
There really has been an almost 180-degree shift in how the Supreme Court thinks about public subsidies for private religious institutions.
And, it's really crazy. Like, this is the scariest thing that's going on, if you ask me, man. And it's like, it's a lot of like the social services are what's being attacked. And one of the main, like, huge social service is public schools, and it's like in this country, they want to privatize everything, one part of commodify everything. One part of it is profit. Like, it's just another way to make money. But I think it's more nefarious than that even, it's like, you don't want an even playing field for kids. And then it's not even like a racial thing. It's more related to economics, it's the people, it's the class warfare. So it's the people that have the means against the ones that don't. And if you don't have the means, then your kid's just going to have less and less and less of a chance. If these kids don't even get to go to school, they don't get to learn, what do you think is going to happen to them? So then they talk about the school to prison pipeline. This is going to be the no school at all to prison pipeline, guaranteed poverty, guaranteed struggle. They're going to guarantee a workforce. Like, they're going to guarantee, like, they won't even have to have like the immigrants coming over to use them, to take advantage of them, to have them as workers, to do whatever freaking manual labor that they don't want to do themselves and pay them trash. They're going to have a domestic workforce or domestic. It's going to be like like how the immigrants are like illegal aliens is what they call them. Like, they don't have proper papers. They are like, they're outside of the what is the word I'm trying to look for? They can be paid underneath the table. They don't have legal papers. They get to basically get taken advantage of, and then they won't even have to have that. They'll have people that are born and raised here in the United States, and they're going to have that same kind of status of not even really being a citizen.
Kevin Wellner is a professor of education, policy, and law at CU Boulder. He also directs the National Education Policy Center.
Vouchers for religious schools were thought to be constitutionally forbidden by the Establishment Clause in the 1970s, for example. And then we had a decision out of Cleveland in 2003 called the Zellman decision. It was a challenge to the voucher policy in Cleveland, where the court said, no, that's actually constitutionally allowed based on a variety of arguments, but in particular the argument that it's not the state deciding which schools receive the money, it's the parents deciding which schools to send their kids to, and then the government then steps in and funds those schools. And then we had this decision in year 2020 out of Montana, the Espinoza decision, where the court said, you know, under these particular circumstances where you have a voucher policy or you have a state policy that funds some private schools, the Constitution actually requires that you also fund religious private schools. Otherwise, it's discriminating and basically withholding money from an institution because it is religious. And then we had a decision 2 years later out of Maine, the Carson v. Macon decision, where the court built on that and extended it even further. So we're sort of creeping toward decisions that could be even more radical.
In recordings, ADF seems to believe that now is the time to strike and enact their vision for our country.
Supreme Court is better than I've ever seen it. And I think that we have to take our shot now.
What we know about this project is probably just the tip of the iceberg, but this is where they're coming from, and they won't stop because they, I think sincerely, view public schools as something that is that bad, that dangerous, that evil, that they will never stop.
We are committed to excellence. We are committed to victory.
It's terrifying, honestly.
It's terrifying. And this is the biggest thing that's happening underneath all of this stuff. And when they tell you, like, what are you being distracted from? This is what you're being distracted from. And what's happening is people are being manipulated. You know, they have power. They have a lot of money, and they can put it into the media. And they have these media propaganda machines churning out this stuff to get people to think in a certain way, you know. And we're all falling for it, man. We're getting screwed. And at the end of the day, everybody's going to be, this is not a good way to go. It's not going to be good for anybody, not even the elite folks. Everyone's going to suffer as a result of this. You know, you can't let like religious extremists control, you know, the direction of a country, you know. You can't allow that, you know, no matter which religion it is, you know, it's just not good. I mean, like you might feel like you're a Christian and you believe in the same stuff that these people believe in or whatever, but you're going to get screwed along with everybody else. You know, do we really want to live in a world that is like, you know, Afghanistan right now with the Taliban? Do we want the United States to be like that? You know, do we want to live in a world where the United States is like freaking Handmaid's Tale, you know, because that's where we're going to get. That's where we're going. This is scary stuff. I'm telling y'all. Let's see. See, not even got any tweet replies on this. This is not even getting much attention. It's got 12K views, but only one retweet. I think that was me. Nobody's paying attention to this. This guy posted, he says, wow, that really is incredible work and very scary. Nobody's paying attention to this. And it probably turned off my whole ass audience, because when the media keeps feeding you something and you believe it wholeheartedly, and then the cognitive dissonance comes in and you taking it, and then you're looking at me as the bad guy, like I'm the bad guy, you know, I'm saying some stuff that's hurting you physically, you know, you want to believe that, you know. So then if you do believe that the school systems are indoctrinating the students and they have this woke ideology, and then you have the LGBTQ teachers in there teaching your kids about sex and all of that stuff, if you do feel that way, then what is the answer? What is your answer? What is the answer? How do you fight back against that? Is it to ban all of the books? Is it to fire all the teachers? Is it to defund all of the schools? You know? What is the answer to that? And a lot of people feel really passionate and really strong about this. And the reason why they do is because they've been fed this propaganda that is not true. Like the stuff about what do they talk about? When they were talking about the law related to teaching kids about like the 1619 Project and what is it that I'm trying to think of? I can't think of the name of it right now, but it's like this stuff is not taught in schools at all. That stuff is only taught in colleges, universities. That stuff is, and then it's only taught in like law schools. Like that stuff is not being taught in schools at all. There's no examples of it. But we've been fed this propaganda that that's what's happening in schools, and it's absolutely not true. There's absolutely no evidence of it, you know. And then you have some extreme circumstances where some things do happen in the schools related to stuff like the LGBTQ sex type things, and then the media jumps on this and blows it up and makes it look like this is happening in all the schools across the country. And that is absolutely not true. So you're going to follow this propaganda and you're going to allow them to completely destroy the public school system and leave these kids with nothing. The children are our future, man. Education is everything. They're not going to have any opportunities to compete in the world. They're going to be screwed. So screwed, and the country's going to turn into, you think it's a mess now. Let them completely defund the schools and see what America looks like after that. Call me crazy. Call me crazy. What if they wanted all your kids to go to Muslim schools or a Hindu school or a Buddhist school? Or what if it was the kids all went to Scientology school or Mormon school? You know, you name it. I think that most of the people in the United States will be against that, but they're okay with it being a Christian school. So then why do you feel like it's okay for all the kids to go to a Christian school, but you're not okay with them to go to any other religion? That doesn't seem strange to you? That doesn't seem like a red flag? What are they teaching these kids in these schools? You really think it's better? Oh man, I done got all emotional. Because I know that you guys are not hearing me. Y'all think I'm crazy. I know y'all think I'm crazy. Anyways, let's cover this one. I was about to go into this when I got kicked out. So Mike Machiro, he posted this. Let me make sure y'all can hear me because I've been having a crazy night. What are they teaching these kids in these schools? You really think it's bad? So Mike Machiro posted this. He said, I have some questions about Jesus I wasn't allowed to ask when I was an evangelical. He said, who is Jesus? Are we allowed to consider this question? He says, what if Jesus wasn't God? He says, I can hear the gasps. Stay with me. What if his life and message is more transformative if he was just a man? What if he was a person like us? What if the proper way to honor this beautiful human isn't to wrap him up in a porcelain and ascend him up to heavens, but to keep his brown skin, to keep his bad breath and tangled hair? What if, instead of immortalizing him, we held his hand? What if that nail-scarred hand wasn't a symbol of his sacrificed flesh to be cannibalized for our cosmic pardon, but a shared wound from choosing love for neighbor even when the world kills you for it? I just can't help but to wonder if Jesus would have preferred that people lived like he lived instead of worshiping how he lived. Let's read some comments. It says, if you defy Jesus, you give yourself an easy out. If you humanize Jesus, you suddenly have more responsibility to live like he did. I have found myself living more like Jesus since I left the church, and I understand his teachings much better now. Another comment, it says, thank you for putting into words what I've deep down struggled with the most in Christianity. This right here is what made me feel like an outsider, pretender, when I was growing up sitting in church, going to Sunday school. I just never could internalize the worship of Jesus as a divine being. Ultimately, in my heart, I've most resonated with the idea that we all have divinity with us, just like Jesus. It feels grounding and intuitive and inspiring to relate to Jesus' humanity in this way. And it challenges me in a healthy way to live in alignment with my principles, just as he did. Also, I love that this post reminded me of the 90s Jim Jones Osborne, What If God Was One of Us, which I listened to on repeat on my tape player all through 5th grade. I remember that song. What if God was one of us? Just a stranger on the bus, trying to find his way home. It was like, what if God was one of us? Just a slob like one of us. A stranger on the bus. Let's read this one. It says, the thing is, you can't see Jesus as just a man and still consider him a morally good person. He was either an absolute lunatic and actually believed that he was God, or he was an insane liar who claimed that he was God, and somehow convinced a bunch of people enough to make up stories about his miracles and spread all across their region, and manipulate some people so much they gave their lives for him. The other option is that he claimed he is. Your claim would deny the resurrection ever happened, which fair, if that's what you're saying and are proving, then yes, the entire Christian religion falls apart and Jesus was never God. But if the resurrection is true, then Jesus is exactly who he says he is, born man and God. So, like, this person is pushing against the idea, and I get it. And so, but, you know, it's a lot of confusion, okay? And it's, you know, it's like childlike way of thinking to simplify everything and to feel like, you know, I'm impure and I'm imperfect and there's nothing I can do. Like, God controls everything, and, you know, I'm just going to commit sin and there's nothing I can do about it because I'm of the flesh, you know? So, but then that gives you a cop-out, you know, that allows you to indulge in your sins, you know? Like, it doesn't matter really which way you believe on this, but if you want to make yourself as close to God as you can, then you don't want to indulge in those sins, and you don't want to find excuses to commit those sins, and you want to hold yourself accountable for doing them. You understand? So, like, it's okay to believe that Jesus was God, but don't use that as an excuse for you to commit sins and act like it's okay because Jesus died for your sins and he washed them all away and you're good to go now. That's a cop-out. That's like being a child. You know, when you grow up and become an adult, then you realize that you have to hold yourself accountable for the things that you do. And you can't just place blame on someone else or say that it's, you know, I didn't have any control of myself, like it was the devil that made me do it. So let me read her comment again. She says, the thing is, you can't see Jesus as just a man and still consider him as morally good person. Why not? Why not? How come he can't just be a morally good person? With that comment, you're saying that a man can't be a morally good person. Like he has the inability to it. He's not capable of it. And then she says, he was either an absolute lunatic and actually believed that he was God, or he was an insane liar who claimed that he was God. But in the scripture, Jesus never said he was God. Find the scripture and send it to me. He never says that. This is something that we have like ascertained, or this is a conclusion that we come to. Jesus never said he was God. And what else she says? Actually believed that he was God, and he was an insane liar who claimed that he was God, and somehow convinced a bunch of people enough to make up stories about his miracles and spread all across their religion. Well, how come he couldn't have been a man and still done miracles? You know, he could have been closer to God. He could have, been inspired by God and actually did those religions. God works through people, right? You have to believe that. If you believe that God exists, then you have to believe that at some point God works through people. So who's to say that he didn't commit those miracles, that he actually did do them, and it wasn't made up, and he still was a man? What else she say? The other option is that he is who he claims he is. Your claim would deny the resurrection ever happened, which is fair. If that's what you're saying and are proving, then yes, the entire Christian religion falls apart and Jesus was never God. So the part about the resurrection, so this person is laying all of the whole Christian religion on the resurrection. Like, that's the part that matters the most over everything. I think that whether the resurrection actually happened or not matters not. I don't think so. You can believe that the resurrection never happened and still follow Christ. You can still follow the teachings of Christ and believe that the resurrection never happened. So yeah, the whole thing with the resurrection, because, I don't believe in supernatural. I believe that everything is natural. There's nothing that happens outside of the universe. There's nothing that happens outside of the laws of the universe. There's things that we don't understand. There's things that we'll never be able to understand. But just because we don't understand it doesn't mean that it's supernatural. And as far as the resurrection, what evidence, what examples have you had that show something dying and then coming back to life? Like actually physically dying and coming back to life. Now, you can believe in the resurrection as being born again in God, like, changing your ways, like, what I mean? The old you died and the new you was born, like being born again, like being baptized. You can look at it in that way, but actually physically seeing something die and then being resurrected, that's scary to me. That would be like some evil devil worshiping stuff. Like, I saw this movie, it was called Lazarus, and they were scientists and they were playing with the idea of like resurrecting people, and then they actually pulled it off, and the person was evil and killed everybody and whatever. It was a scary ass movie. And so, but that's like what I would think is if something like that happened, I don't think that would be, I don't think, honestly, I don't think it could happen because everything that happens is natural. So that's a thing that's not natural. You don't have any evidence of that, something dying and coming back to life. I don't think that's what that meant. Let's read another comment. It says, I always say for me, Jesus was a human being, a spiritual guy who knew how to reach the people and spread peace around him. I consider myself a follower of his teachings. I guess that makes myself a Christian, even though I'm not religious at all. Yeah, and it's kind of like that with the with Muslims too. It's like, you know, everybody is a Muslim as far as that's what Muslims say. And the same thing with Christians, like everyone is a Christian, really. You know, these ideas of creating these different sects and saying that one is better than the other, you know, one is following the religion properly and another one isn't. Like, who are you to decide on the proper way to worship? Who are you to decide on what someone's relationship with God is supposed to look like? You know, is there a blueprint for that? And I feel like I myself is a follower of the teachings of Christ. You know, I really do. And I try to live my life in that way. And I really, really, really do. But I don't see myself as a Christian. I mean, you can call me that and that's fine. But I don't think that you have to be a Christian to be Christ-like. Because I don't like to identify myself with a religion in that way, because then that's that superiority complex, that higher horse thing where you feel like you're better. I'm holier than thou, and I'm anointed, and I need to come and save everybody or whatever. And I don't think that's what it's about. I think it's about you and your personal relationship with God and how you treat other people. You dictating to somebody else about how they're supposed to live their life isn't in the scriptures. Let me read another one. It says, I'm beginning to agree with this understanding more and more. Another one, it says, I like how Alan Watts talks a lot about how Jesus experienced cosmic consciousness. He has some really exciting, excellent points in this talk, Jesus, his religion. Yeah, I've seen a lot. I went down the whole rabbit hole on YouTube with the Alan Watts stuff. And I got stuck in that stuff for a good amount of time. Let's read another one. It says, yes, I follow the prophet Jesus, whose full humanity is enough. He never said he was any less divine than we are, and that we would do greater things than he. Another comment, it says, the last slide I have mixed feeling about, but the rest absolutely agree. The message is in how he was and not so much who he was. So the last slide is the one I have it on. It says, I just can't help but wonder if Jesus would have preferred that people lived like he lived instead of worshiping how he lived. So it's like worshiping me, like, I don't think that that's what they want you to do either. I don't think so. It's like, I don't think that even with God, you're supposed to give thanks. Your prayers are supposed to be thanks, you know, and your worship is when you are living the way you're living, like the way you treat others, the way you behave, you know, that is your worship. You know, giving praise and thanks is one thing, but your worshiping is actually how you live. If you really believe, then it's going to change the way you move. It's going to change the way you treat people. You know, that's what worshiping is. And I don't think that Jesus wanted you to worship him, because that's not what it's about. It's not about me saying I'm better than someone else. He's showing you the way to live the life in a way that is in harmony with nature and with your fellow neighbors. Another one, it says, I've said as much myself. Why is it better that a person is threatened to behave a certain way than for the same person to do good for the sake of it? Wouldn't that make for a better society? It says, why is it better that a person is threatened to behave a certain way than for that same person to do good for the sake of it? Wouldn't that make for a better society? Like, so it's like the punishment. It's like the whole reason why people want to do right and not commit sin is because of they're worried about going to hell. You know, let's say hell and heaven doesn't exist, and so then you just gonna wild out and just rape and pillage and commit sin because it doesn't matter. You're just gonna go to, there's no heaven or hell. So you need an incentive to be good, to live right, to not sin, to not be mean to other people. So you just want to be mean to other people. You just want to commit sin then. If you need an excuse, if you need like a punishment is what guides you to do the things that you do. Another one, it says, then his teachings have even more weight, and his followers were brave, shared an emerging vision and ethos and solidarity, and the Magdalene was nobody's whore. Another one, it says, never forget when I first heard you say, like, what if Jesus wasn't God? Another comment, it says, what if are the most revolutionary 2 words. Good for you for asking the questions. Blessings, brother. So like, I think about blasphemy, the word blasphemy. So this stuff that he's writing in here, a lot of people would consider blasphemy. So like questioning anything is blasphemy. Like, it's like trying to understand it better is blasphemy. Asking the question, what if, what if there's no heaven? What if there's no hell? What if Jesus was a man? And it's like, that's blasphemy. You're a blasphemer. So it's like, I can't go down that road of discovery, of trying to understand why I feel the way that I feel, or what are the intricate parts of my faith. I can't question the pastor, and his interpretation of the scriptures. I can't question the scriptures and the person who wrote them, or the translations, or the different time periods where they came from. I'm a blasphemer if I want to know more, if I want to ask questions. I'm supposed to just know. I'm born with this knowledge. Or I'm just supposed to accept whatever anyone tells me. So then that makes you easily manipulated, and that makes you childlike. This one, it says, in all fairness, couldn't the last slide apply if Jesus was seen as Emmanuel, the incarnation of a God who comes closer, who empties God's self and shows the way, rather than a jealous, distant deity who demands our flagellation? I don't really get what they're saying there. Another comment says, I always thought that's exactly who Jesus was, just a man. Another one, it says, have you ever read A Course in Miracles? Kind of touches on some of these ideas. Another one, it says, Jesus loses me when he says I must hate my family in order to be worthy of him. No thanks, bruh. Well, you have to understand that some of the stuff in there is not right. There's some stuff that has been put in there. Man is not perfect. Man is fallible. Man makes mistakes. And man is selfish sometimes, and man has ulterior motives sometimes. So that's the reason why you have to look at the scriptures and know what resonates with your soul, and know what comes from God and what comes from man, what has been tainted, because there's stuff in there that shouldn't be there. Powers that be, they made it a state religion, and they wanted to be able to control people, and they, so then that's the, it was adopted. You had Constantine and you had Rome, and they were the outsiders at first, and then they became the adopted religion, and then they put in all of the previous stuff and mixed it all in there together so everybody can come together and follow this one religion, you know, so that they can maintain power over the people. It says, also in scripture, see who he was with. Did he ever diss someone because of the way they lived? No, he was understanding. And that's the thing about religious people. They tend to be extremely judgmental, and they say, I don't judge or whatever. And it's like, only God can judge me or whatever. But I've been around very religious folks, and they are the most judgmental people that are out there. They're always judging people. And they say that they don't, but they spend more time judging people than anything else. And they do the same thing with themselves. And that's the reason why a lot of times they end up miserable, because they can't, they try to put themselves on a pedestal that they can't live up to. And it's all an illusion. As long as people outside think that they are living up to that, you know, pedestal thing, then that's what matters. And what they do inside of their home and how they really act and the thoughts that they really have doesn't really matter, you know. So these are the people that don't really believe, you know, because if you really believe, then you know that you aren't better than others, and you're not in the position to judge anyone. You can't. Yeah, so did I lose y'all? Was I on the soapbox today? Yeah, I probably pissed some people off today. Forgive me, it wasn't my intention. I'm gonna get out of here soon because I gotta go to work in the morning, but let's do this one. It says, Missouri woman mistakenly declared dead by the government and says mistake has ruined her life. Oh, I can't play the sound because it's too close to the time where it's going to be kicked out. Can we go to the page? Let's see. If we go to it, can we play it?
Comes here to her favorite park for peace, to escape the anxiety she's been dealing with for 17 years.
The nightmare, corruption, no oversight with government.
Because she says the government thinks she's dead.
It's like a haunting.
Madeline Coburn is a
Five on Your Side covered her struggle back in 2007. She was a student at Webster University, majoring in entrepreneurship and business technology.
I got denied my financial aid.
Madeline Michelle Carthen comes here to her favorite park for peace, to escape the anxiety she's been dealing with for 17 years.
The nightmare, corruption.
Carthen told us the lender even sent her paperwork showing she was deceased. Credit reports showed the same thing.
Now they're saying, prove to us you're not dead.
She couldn't graduate, and nearly 2 decades later,
it messed up my whole life.
The nightmare has gotten worse.
So it's impacted your education. How else has it impacted your life?
It's impacted my life financially, as far as if I wanted to buy a house. That won't happen.
Because she tells us she cannot get a mortgage. She says even keeping a job is nearly impossible.
It's just a matter before my social security number catch up with me, and then they have to let me go. HR can't process payroll.
Our investigation finds the government wrongly labels up to 12,000 living Americans as dead every year. It's often simply the result of mistakes. Someone types in the wrong number.
And told us the lender even sent her paperwork showing she was dead.
It happens to a fraction of a percent of people. But when it does happen, the result can be catastrophic. And here's where the problem can start. The Social Security Administration compiles what's called the Death Master File. Once you're added, places like banks, the IRS, and Medicare wipe you out of existence. If you're added by mistake, there is a devastating domino effect.
it can really impact every single aspect of your life.
Says St. Louis attorney Creighton Cohn.
What are people in this position supposed to do?
So the first is to figure out where the information came from. So get your credit report. That's always the first thing to do. And always should get it from annualcreditreport.com.
Carthen tried that and came back with error messages. Attorneys tell the I-team the next
It happens to a fraction of a percent.
step is to get in touch with the Social Security Administration. Carthen keeps trying. So we tried too. And kept waiting.
Thank you for holding.
For someone to answer. I did get in touch with the agency's media contact. The agency would not talk with us on camera. In an email, a spokesperson said its records are highly accurate and that of the 3 million death reports it receives each year, less than 1/3 of 1% are subsequently corrected. But Carthen tells us for her, the problem is far from solved.
I just want direct answers, and I haven't been able to get that.
Step is to get in touch with.
It's so crazy. Our system is so full of red tape and bureaucracy, and there's so much arrogance involved in it. And then there's such a huge separation of like humans. Like we have to go through these bots and emails and so forth and so on. You can't never really talk to a person. It's like they don't really care. And especially when you're dealing with the government, like it's worse. It's like that with corporations, but it's super worse with the government. Like they really just don't care, like at all. Nobody cares. Everybody is just going through doing their job, and they're like, it's not my problem. I don't care enough to try to fix this. Like, and it's, I don't know what to say. My daughter's mom passed away when she was like 2 or almost 3 years old. And we had bought a house together, and we weren't legally married. So there was issues related to her death certificate. Like there was a lot of things that I needed to do, and I needed her death certificate for it, and I couldn't get it. They wouldn't give it to me because I wasn't married. It's like the married or next to kin or whatever, has access to it. And it was just like a whole bunch of problems I had as a result of that. And just recently, about a year ago, I went to go get the transport of my daughter, and they needed the mom's permission to get the passport, because she's underage. But the mom has passed away. She's not here. So then they needed the death certificate, and there it goes again. So to this day, I don't have the passport for her. I was unable to attain it because I wasn't able to do that, because it's like she's underage. They need her mom, and her mom is not here no more. So it's just like that kind of stuff is like, it's so dumb. Like our system is so behind and so inhumane. Like they still have on proper paperwork that is formal paperwork. They still have like home number on there, and like no one has home numbers anymore. Like we're so far behind. How long has it been since people don't really have home numbers, and they haven't updated those forms? Like I say, it's just like a non-caring attitude with things. Our system is so non-caring and inhuman. Like the human aspect is taken out of everything. And it's like they want you to behave like a robot too. That's a problem I have, because I like to be honest with people, and my facial expressions show, and like it causes me problems. You're supposed to behave a specific way in certain things. Like you're supposed to talk a certain way exactly on phone conversations. And I know phone etiquette and all of this stuff, but what I'm saying is, it's like they want you to be a robot, and then the system is like robotic, and it's like it takes all of the soul, it takes all of the humanity out of things, and then that's how you get results like these. Very sad. Horror story right there. Yep. Well, we can pray for her, right? Yeah, I hope that that stuff gets worked out for her. It's unfortunate that someone can make like a little mistake and it can just destroy your whole freaking life. And then you don't even have the means to fix it because our system is so convoluted and full of red tape and bureaucracy. It's like the problems with everything, the red tape and bureaucracy. It's like the system was made by people who have no soul and don't care about people. I'm sure I've lost all of y'all. I feel like I've lost all of y'all. The thing kicked me out. We were talking about guns. I don't even know how far I got into that. I tried to come back. And then I started talking about schools and Jesus. This show really went left today. Oh, man. What is this? Let's read this. It says, every drooling anti-union comment is always just an accidental testimony to why every worker needs unions. So many people conditioned to accept sacrificing their bodies for their boss, profit, and the law of nature. It's not. It's something we as a species can simply decide not to do. It says, so I guess he was responding to this. It says, so do waiters, house cleaners, hairdressers, surgeons, dentists, and everyone else who works with their hands on their feet. Crimea River, no special treatment needed for doing a job. It says, missing from mainstream discussions of UAW's demand is recognition of what auto workers actually do. Repetitive labor that grinds down their bodies, often sacrificing their lower backs, rotator cuffs, or just the pleasure of waking without pain. Yeah, people like to say people don't have any skills, and I feel like there's no such thing as non-skilled labor. You know, when the person, you go through the drive-through line and they mess up your order, and then you're like, oh, they're so stupid. You go to certain other places and they don't ever mess up your order. That's because there's skill involved in it. Some people are better at their job than others. See, tweet replies, it says, how about better federal workers' protections instead of more union dues, Bob? It says, a pretty nice tale is how they mention surgeons, one of the better paid medical professions, and dentists in the area I feel most own or in a partnership in the private practices, but not nurses who actually have protested bad working conditions and low pay. Says surgeons and dentists are extraordinarily well paid and have professional organizations somewhat resembling unions. The other three ought to have unions and get the same ability to strike the way UAW is. How is this remotely difficult for anyone at all? It says the real trickle down is the standards and wages that unions win, lifting up standards and wages for all. Yeah, people always have something negative to say, like they don't never have solutions. Just get a job. Just get a better job. You know? Just stop being lazy. Just do whatever they say. Just comply. Like the humanity is gone. Like, what would Jesus do? Would Jesus spit on the homeless or say that they're lazy, kick them, you know, tell them to get a job, say that they're all on drugs and that they're lazy, they don't really want to do nothing with their life?
The Democrat judge is an operative and it's ridiculous. Other than that, things went very well. What are you going to have for lunch?
Will you come back after lunch, Mr. Trump?
Probably. Violent crime that's being committed in our city and our state is disgraceful, and we're going to be here for months with a judge that already made up his mind. It's ridiculous. He's a Democrat judge, he's an operative, and it's ridiculous. Other than that, things went very well. What are you going to have for lunch?
Will you come back after lunch, Mr. Trump?
Probably.
Trump is pretty entertaining, I ain't gonna lie. I think he's an entertainer. I think that's really what he is.
Outstanding, because the judge essentially conceded that the statute of limitations that we won at the Court of Appeals is in effect. Therefore, about 80% of the case is over. I was going to come out and say that, as you know, we're not entitled to a jury, which is pretty unusual in the United States of America. So I think it's very unfair that I don't have a jury, but the judge's last statement was very fair. And if I read it right, I'll let perhaps one of the lawyers speak to it. But Cliff, maybe you'll speak to it if you would. But the way I interpret that, and the way everyone else in the room seems to interpret that, is that the statute of limitations is a very real thing in this country.
So yeah, that's related to his case, the fraud case. It's funny how Trump just kind of takes over the news cycle. It says Trump financial fraud trial starts in Manhattan today. My column on some of the surprise that may come up out of the witness list and how the argument about fraud is already over. All that's at issue now is how hefty a price and penalty Trump will pay. New York says Trump committed fraud. Now comes the price tag. The former president has moved on from business to politics, but there's still a penalty coming for his New York misdeeds. Are these tweet replies? What is this? Let me see. Yeah, I don't want to do that. Let's do this one. It says, in protest of dire wages and condition, this weekend, workers at Australian supermarkets Woolworth and Coles are undertaking the first ever national strike of grocery store workers in the country. So where is this in Australia? So they're protesting, they're striking in Australia too? Woolworths. The Woolworths here went out of business. I didn't know they had a Woolworths in Australia. So this is an article. I'm not going to go to it. Workers are striking in Australia's supermarket duopoly. Australia's largest supermarkets are posting billion-dollar profit while their employees are struggling to pay rent. Now a national strike of supermarkets. You know, everyone is all like, these people are just complaining. They need to get a better job or whatever. Nobody wants to really pay attention to the fact that people are getting screwed. That's the reason why they're making so much record profits. You know, all these people being unhappy, you know, there's a reason for it. Like, we don't have to all be suffering. This one, it says a win for unions is a win for all workers. Nina Turner posted this. It says Tesla wages to go up in the wake of the UAW strike, Barclays predicts. Barclays analyst Dan Levy said the strike would affect the labor costs of all automakers in the US, including Tesla. So they're saying, you know, Tesla's just going to raise the prices on that, you know, raise the wages on their workers just to avoid the situation. So, I mean, I guess that's a good thing. I mean, it shows a ripple effect that the UAW strike is having across the nation. Let's do this right quick. I'll probably
Does that
wrap
mean
on
we're
this.
not going to get one of the two guys who have already been president as president again, Trump or Biden?
Okay, so if you want me to jump to a conclusion, I think what's going to happen is there is probably not going to, like, my more extreme side is there's probably not going to be an election.
What? Cam? How?
Well, I want to show you something. So the thing is, you have to kind of put your finger on the pulse with American society. It really doesn't matter if Trump goes to jail or prison or not. If let's say that he's in prison or whatever, I think you're going to have a lot more backlash than what January 6th was. What I see coming up is pretty much in the next few years is World War III. America's getting involved with Ukraine and NATO. Like that's, and the reason being is this is what the Pentagon and the CIA, they've been working at this for like 50, 60 years. Like this is all that they want. And it's also to crumble the Russian Empire, get them on the digital dollar, which is going to be implemented. And all it is just world domination, central bank stuff. Now that's going to happen. But in the middle of that, there's going to, I don't see a civil war. I see a national divorce. And there's two reasons for that. So, hold on. How do I want to go about this? So coming back to this macro perspective, I want to show you something real quick. And for people that are listening, I know I'm going to throw a lot at you here. So just bear with me. At the very minimum, astrology is like, what I think most people can get away is like, okay, imagine every single planet that includes Pluto, Neptune, Uranus, Saturn, Jupiter. When they all move zodiac signs, you can probably guesstimate that like, oh, that might be like a bigger shift in things because Pluto takes like, for example, Pluto's going to be going back into Aquarius on and off between this year and next year. Pluto will be in Aquarius for 20 years. It's not a small transit. Neptune takes, I think, like 12 years to go through a sign. Uranus goes through 7 years to go through a sign. And then Saturn takes 3 years. Jupiter takes 1 year. But between November of 24 and July of 25, every single major planet moves into a new zodiac sign. So that's just like very basic, like, okay, like, we're definitely not dealing with old stuff anymore. We're moving on to new things.
That's interesting. The moving on to new things. We're definitely in a transition phase. I don't know about all the stuff he was saying, World War III and all of that, but the election is definitely going to be something. You know, if Trump goes to jail, they're going to wild out. If he wins, they're going to wild out. So I think, you know, if he doesn't go to jail and he loses, they're gonna wild out. Like, you know, the United States is in for a turbulent year here coming up. That's my prediction. What the hell is gonna happen? I have no idea, but it's gonna be crazy. It already has been. So we're gonna see new things we haven't seen before, I think. Anyways, I'm gonna wrap it on that. I'm tired. Thank y'all for listening. Thank y'all for joining. I apologize for all the technical difficulties and so forth and so on. Peace and love.